Hello viewers, welcome to another news hour on Jamano Media and Products. We now begin with our headlines. The National People's Party reveals candidates for National Assembly election. Honorable Halifa Sallah bids farewell. Independent Electoral Commission rejects criticisms of European Union EU observers. Gambia resolves WAEC arrears. Candidates clear to sit for exams. Those were the headlines. We now have the news in detail. The National People's Party yesterday revealed its confirmed list of candidates selected to run in the next month's National Assembly elections. The list numbering 40, including 11 sitting National Assembly members, 10 of whom decamped from UDP and GDC, and Biram Sow, elected to an NPP ticket in a by-election. The remaining 39 are all freshmen and women. Sidin Jai, the National People's Party deputy spokesman, said the list was finalized after a vigorous, competitive, and sometimes controversial process. But the ultimate objective of allowing grassroots participation in the selection of representatives has been achieved. They expect that since these peoples are selected by their own people in their localities, they would go ahead to elect them on April 9th, Mr. Jai said. Mr. Njai said the aspirants will undergo nominations at the vigorous regional IEC offices on the 9th March, the day scheduled for the Electoral Commission for the National People's Party to nominate its candidates. The ruling party had earlier announced that it will not contest 13 seats, where its coalition parties APRC, NRP, and PPP will put up candidates. Unless we free our people from being born in poverty, living in poverty, and dying in poverty, we have not dug the type of well our people deserve, Serekunda lawmaker Honorable Halifa Sallah said yesterday evening while delivering his farewell address on the floor of the National Assembly as he ended a decade of representing Serekunda constituency. Yesterday was the final sitting of the 5th legislature. In an emotional speech, the Deutsche leader said he came to Parliament to promote a transformative agenda to build a new Gambia on the ethos of self-reliance and self-determination. During the session attended by dozens of lawmakers, cabinet ministers, well-wishers, and members of the civil society, Mr. Sallah reminded his colleagues that the battle to free the Gambia from its current state will not be won unless they collectively work to liberate their electorate from poverty and the country's reliance on begging. It is left to each of the National Assembly members to prepare for the type of future they want for themselves and their people. The problems are still here and they must not close their eyes onto them. They will fight their battles to come back into this parliament. They will say many things, but after doing so, let us sit down and ask ourselves, what is the use of being a representative? Is it turning this place into a talking shop or work to remedy the problems of our people? We would have passed more bills with an organized setup, an executive that is focused and knows what it wants to do. He came to represent the Gambia sent by Serekunda today. Serekunda without football fields, community centers, and recreational facilities. The same thing with electricity, water supply, and drainage. They need a solution to these problems. This country is still begging for a way forward, and if we are sincere enough, we will not be fooling ourselves with self-praises. That is not the way forward. Hardship is here. Suffering is here. Yes, we may have a mighty building, arch, bridges, and roads, and we have done well. But unless we free people from being born, living, and dying in poverty, we have not dug the type of well our people deserve. The well that our people deserve is to free them from poverty, and that is not the reality at the moment. Honorable Halifa Sallah thanked his electorate for the confidence bestowed in him. During that day-long session, many lawmakers praised him for his selfless services to the Gambia. His long-term colleague Sidia Jatta described him as a magnificent citizen. The Independent Electoral Commission has reached to some of the indictments by the EU Election Observer Mission, rejecting them as mere political views. In its final report issued a week ago, the mission said, among other things, that it observed a general lack of transparency about the work of the Independent Electoral Commission, and that the Commission did not virtually nothing to address the numerous electoral malpractices in the lead up to the December presidential election. The distribution of various goods during the campaign was a widespread negative phenomenon. There were also widespread allegations of distributions of money through village chiefs alkaloli reported to EU EOM observers. These illegal practices were also reported by citizen observer groups and the media, and were in breach of the Election Act and the IEC Code of Ethics. However, no action was taken by the IEC, the observer reported. It added that the abuse of state resources for campaigning was also observed during the election process, providing significant advantages to the incumbent. The observer said the IEC has a responsibility to address these issues. But Parmakan Khan, the spokesperson of the commission, disagreed. Most of the issues the report talked about had to do with electoral laws, and those are a matter for the National Assembly. It is only the Parliament that can do to the necessary enactments and the necessary amendments. With the references to the campaign, the Election Act does not have anything on campaigning financing. So it's difficult to say how much political parties spend on their campaigns and all that. Going forward, this should be a matter as far as the electoral reforms are concerned, he said. He said the IEC has no evidence of any electoral malpractices, contrary to what the report intimated. We don't have evidences of milling machines and millions of dollars being given to communities. He would say that's their own analysis, but for them going by the electoral laws, those are things the Commission cannot control. The EU observers recommended for the strengthening of the institutional independence of the IEC by establishing an inclusive mechanism for the selection and appointment of the IEC chairperson and commissioners, which is currently made by the president. But Parmakan Khan said that it will even be more problematic when commissioners have to be appointed by stakeholders. It will create more problems, especially when some people from the political parties would have to be part of the decision-making of appointing commissioners. These recommendations are their political views, but it may not be the most suitable in the Gambian context. They have a right to recommend however they think, he said. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, MOPSI, has announced that following a successful meeting over the Gambia's areas or to West African Examination Council, the country has now been cleared to allow its pupils and students to sit for the Gabesi and was due to the next few months. The regional examination body had demanded that the Gambia pay at least half of the $11 million arrears accumulated since 2004 or risks missing out on this year's exam. The matter drew the attention of the National Assembly, which summoned the Education and Finance Minister over the matter. The public demanded proactive action from the government. Yesterday, MOPSI issued a statement revealing that the matter has been resolved and that Gambian candidates will now be able to sit for their exams. This development came following a successful virtual meeting held on Friday, 25th February, among stakeholders including MOPSI, Ministry of Finance and WAEC, during which the issue of arrears were amicably resolved. They thanked the Ministry of Finance, WAEC, and stakeholders. The statement from the MOPSI stated yesterday that this statement did not give details of how the matter has been resolved. Those were the stories for our today's newscast, but before we take a leave of you, let's take a recap on our top stories. The National People's Party reveals candidates for National Assembly election. Honorable Halifa Sallah bids farewell. The Independent Electoral Commission rejects criticisms of European Union, EU observers. Gambia results WAEC arrears. Candidates cleared to sit for exams. Those were the stories of our today's newscast. Thank you for joining us with your presenter, Mariama Gillen. Do have a nice day.